watching famous games on YouTube.
Good Sunday afternoon, folks, and welcome to the Short Vol Show live. Yeah, I saw a couple people waiting. I figured I might as well start now. We've got like around 9 minutes till the futures reopen. And let's take a look and see what Weekend Wall Street says, because, you know, that Weekend Wall Street that kind of trades over the weekend, it's usually not super accurate. It's an ING product. Let's see what we got going on here on Weekend Wall Street, though. If I click over here, and what's up, Ron Johnson? So it has it down 65 points. Okay, so just kind of sum things up for you folks. I am still like perma bearish. Like I am like still, you know, really convinced that the market is going to make a down move very soon. And, you know, I'm kind of in the minority, though. It's pretty weird because it used to be that I was always like the voice of reason saying like, oh, the market, it always just kind of slowly rallies. So that's what it's going to keep doing. And I was always kind of, it upset me when bearish people would come on and be like talking about how the end of the world is coming and all this stuff. And I don't think that the end of the world is coming. However, I've been pretty negative on the market for some time now, and it just has to do with the fact that the economic indicators are not saying very good stuff, and yet the market continues to rally. So I talked to a guy this weekend. I said, yeah, I think the market's going to go lower. He said, oh, well, I guess you're not making money then, which is kind of true. But I've managed to avoid losing money as well. Big position that I've been playing has been this Kodak position, and I came in short Friday, and I stayed short all day, so that kind of worked out. Also, just short Vega, short Gamma. I basically sold puts and calls. You know, I sold a bunch of the 10 and the 7.5 puts. This thing, if we look at Kodak, if I get out of the way, rolled down. Well, just to go over the story once again, we started up at, you know, it popped to $60 a couple sessions ago, right? So the government announced they were giving them a contract, popped from $2 up to this $8 level, and the next day it ripped to 60, right? But it really felt like it was just a squeeze to me. So I came in on this Thursday session, and you know, the 80 calls were like $2 bid, $2.50 bid, just a few weeks out. And so I sold a bunch of the 80 calls for like $2. And within the day, the 75 calls were like offered at 70 cents. So that was a nice win. Also, way up here, I was selling these strangles. I was selling like the 60 call and the 10 put. And, you know, the 10 put hasn't moved. We've gone from 40 to 20. 10 put hasn't moved. So that has worked out nicely and has offset me being short Lulu, which has basically done nothing to going up. And, you know, we did get the sell-off in the NASDAQ on Friday morning, but unsurprisingly, it just ripped back up. You can see these things. You know, I'm bearish, but I'm not an idiot, and you can see people just coming in to buy the dip, and the offer is just disappearing. And unfortunately, I had to be away from the market at the end of the session here for this rally, so I can't really comment on that. INTC, I have no specific thoughts for you on INTC. I'm sorry, I don't want to like talk a bunch of nonsense for you. I haven't been following it very closely, and I don't have any specific comment on INTC at the moment for you. But thanks Jim for tuning in. I appreciate that. So the VIX, you know, we've talked about that Friday. We can talk about it again. The term structure is in a great shape to be short this thing. However, I was holding off Friday once again because I'm just so incredibly bearish on the market. And usually I have no opinion on the market, and I just try to avoid having opinion either way. But right now, I'm just so bearish, and so I don't want to sell. In my mind, if I have these strong conviction that to be bearish, I don't want to do stuff that's completely contrary to that, which would be like selling a bunch of VIX stuff right now. But the VIX, when you look at it, yeah, we're in 10% contango, so that means this thing, all things will decay by 10% a month. So just do really quick math, like super quick math. UVXY right now around 25. That means that it's going to decay by 250 per month. So nothing else happens. Vol right here a month from now, instead of being 25, UVXY is 2250. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but that is quick decay over time. But we have to see what's going to happen, because this curve is in a unique spot where we've got it, sloping up till the time of the election and then sloping back down again. So to me, that means that we're going to get a big vol collapse here somewhere. So I would want to be super careful about being long this stuff, and I might consider being short it. And I certainly would consider, if we get any sort of spike, jumping on some sort of short vol position. My suggestion would be to put on some sort of a put spread in either VXX or UVXY. So just to recap once again, we had the earnings on Thursday for these tons of companies at once: Facebook, Google, Amazon, and most importantly, Apple, which really just exploded on Friday. I mean, the Apple obviously had good earnings. They announced a split, and it just exploded on Friday. Now, I say the same thing about splits every time people ask me. A split in itself doesn't change anything. It's just changing, the size of basically a carrier. It doesn't mean anything. However, when you've got a split that has a lot of publicity around it, the public doesn't understand that a split doesn't mean anything, so they might buy it just based on the fact that it's splitting. So it is possible that Apple could go up just based on the fact that it's splitting, not for any real reason other than the fact that it just kind of gets more publicity then, so more people are watching Apple. So if people, the stock market is somewhat of a popularity contest. I mean, to me, that is the reason why your Teslas, outperform other car companies by so much, or there's certain stocks that get hot, like Square got hot for a while, and they just, you could have companies that have equal numbers, but one stock gets hot, and it's like a popularity contest. And with Apple getting publicized a split, that makes more people jump in and buy it. So it could go up just based on the perceptions, which we see at times with splits. But a split in itself doesn't change anything. It's just, you're not losing or making any money on a split. I don't know why there's so much confusion on that. I think most people that are watching this program, though, understand that. So, yeah, the VIX still 24 and change. Now, that is low end of the range. I did see some show on talking about, well, this is a great buying opportunity in the VIX because it's at the bottom of the range. But in reality, the average VIX over periods of time is like 18 to 20. So we're still high on the VIX. We're still coming off of that initial spike in March. And although I hate to, I'm not really willing to come to terms with it, the market has rallied back since then. And thus, if the market continues to rally, we will see the VIX move back below 20 again. So I wouldn't be loading up the truck on volatility at this level here, 24, because we're still high in the range. However, we're not at a point where I would be extreme buyer or seller. We're kind of in a midpoint right now, high level of the midpoint of the VIX. With, of course, contango, though, in the term structure is giving edge to the downside. So if, gun to my head, I'd rather be short like UVXY or VXX than long it right now. Okay, so we did just open, and the futures are up slightly. Okay, so NASDAQ up 15, which is basically nothing. E-minis up 2 right now. So I'm going to say that this is a non-event here. as we reopen in the futures for Sunday, it looks like a non-event. Once again, you know, I kind of feel like, well, maybe my channel is known for like being about short volatility. Hey, what's up, Spencer? I you know, this channel is kind of known for being short volatility, so I hope people aren't upset with me for not being short volatility and basically like talking about some other trading topics right now because of just my my overall bullishness. Spencer, I think it can work out being long that. I just you know, well, as you hear me preach about all the time, I just wouldn't stay long it for a super long period of time if it doesn't work out, just because you know, the decay is going to move against you at some point. And I know you're aware of that already, Spencer. So that's kind of where we are. It sounds like, let's talk about the deal for a second. I don't like to talk politics too much, but it sounds like they are working on a deal. I did see, I did tweet about something from the Democratic leadership saying that they're negotiating. So basically, just to bring you up to speed on all of that, the House presented a plan like 2 months ago. Now, the Senate, the Republican part of the Senate, remember the Democrats are in control of the House, the Republicans are in control of the Senate. So the Republican-controlled Senate, or the Republican contingent of the Republican-controlled Senate, came back with a counter proposal for a bill. And as far as that $600 thing goes, the counter proposal was $200 extra a month plus, and then after a couple months, phase that out and make an actual calculation as to how much, what percent of people's wages we're replacing, and let's aim to replace 70% of people's wages. Now that, on paper, kind of makes sense to me. However, it's very difficult for these struggling government bureaucracies in the states right now, who are strapped for cash because of the whole response thing, to actually go back, audit everyone's account, figure out what 70% of their earnings would be, and then designate that as how much they are getting from the federal government as extra unemployment money. So, for example, no, I'm not going to go into this super heavy. But anyways, the sum total is one side $200 extra a month, the other side $600 extra a month. They're going to make some sort of deal. You'll know that they've made the deal when you hear them saying, okay, we're meeting with the president. You'll hear them say, Mitch McConnell, McCarthy, Schumer, and Pelosi are going to be meeting with the president. They'll go meet with the president. They'll all come out as a group, and they'll announce the stimulus package. It could happen anytime between Monday and like 3 weeks from now. There is some speculation. It's a big deal because, you know, if all these people, millions of people, are getting $600 extra a week, that's $2,400 extra a month. That just stopped. Okay, that's over right now. Until the Senate does something else, nobody's getting that extra $600. It ended July 31st. So in real terms, for like Massachusetts, most places it ended last weekend, but some states like Texas, it ended the week before. So there is some speculation that once they get this all figured out, they will make it retroactive. However, we don't know that. There's no deal yet. Ramble Ron says there will be no deal anytime soon. Well, I can't argue with that because there's no deal yet. They're far, the latest I saw was Chuck Schumer today saying they're far from a deal. They're far from a compromise. So that's where that stands. Now, that all being said, watch for the market to rally when they do announce a deal, or in respect to Ramble Ron, when and if they announce a deal, look for the market to rally, just because, and look for vol to come in too, because you've taken away uncertainty, and the market, when you take away uncertainty, the market's generally like that. So that's kind of where we stand. My Kodak, I did take off most of the position just because I didn't want to have the risk around. I bought some cheap call spreads and stuff. The last thing I want to do, it's been a little teeny position that made me like $1,500 in 2 sessions. So last thing I want to do is have it rip to 60 on Monday and give it all back. So I kind of took it off. Still short Lululemon, coming in short Lululemon, but not a lot of risk on. I'm small. Positions are small. I'm mostly cash. I've missed out on this whole rally though because of my position that we're going to move lower. So, maybe I'm not the right guy to listen to follow specifically for trading right now because I'm not hot. Fortunately, I haven't lost money. I've made a little bit of money, but I'm not hot right now. So I'm probably not the right person to follow your positions after. In fact, I know there's some people on here who do the opposite of me for what they do in the market. Let's just look for 1 second though at this Wayfair stock because it's just unbelievable. I mean, this stock was $21, okay, in March. Now it's $266. It got up as high as $268 after the close on Friday. And, this is a company, they've had negative earnings up until now. They have announced that apparently they should go into positive earnings territory this year sometime. They've been a real winner in the whole, market shutdown, people staying at home. They've gone out and they've bought beds and stuff on Wayfair. And look, the stock went from 21 to 268 after the close. Yes, Philip, market is tech versus everything else. And, TheoTrade did some analysis of that. You can see here, you can just see it's like, okay, what are the stocks that are up? They're the tech stocks. Everything else is not up. So, but it seems like that's been the story for quite some time. I mean, it seems like that's been the story for. I mean, it hasn't been as extreme, but that's kind of been the story for years. Look, I mean, Apple leading the pack, Amazon, these big tech names. I don't even know what CoStar Group is. Charter One. These big tech names leading the pack. Now, obviously, also, AMD had good earnings and AMD exploded. Microsoft has not participated in this last week. Google earnings weren't so great. I continue to be wrong, and I just sit there and I watch. For example, in Lululemon, the Nasdaq's tanking, and there's like no fear out there. People are very comfortable buying more. And so it boggles my mind. So I don't know. I'm just kind of out of sync with things. But like I said, despite all that, I've been making money. So I'm happy. I'm happy with that. But I would keep an eye on these tech stocks. As you're watching during the day, I keep an eye on these Apples, your Teslas and stuff like that. And if they start breaking lower, inevitably the market comes with them because they're just so huge at this point. Look at gold. Gold has broken 2,000. I mean, this is a milestone. It was years where gold did not take out the high. And gold above 2,000 now. Do I think the SPX is overbought? I'm not bearish because of technical reasons. I'm bearish just because, with GDP shrinking by 30% and all these people still unemployed, no deal through to help them. They're saying all these people are not paying their mortgages and stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me that like these retail companies are going to be doing great and all these companies are doing so much better than they were before all this stuff happened and like a large contingent of the population was out of work. It just seems like the market is out of whack with the realities of the economy. And I think in a way it's almost like I think there's got to be some people out there who are saying when they say that like, well, COVID isn't that serious and this is all a hoax, it's going to go away after the election, all that stuff. I think people look to the stock market and they say, look, the stock market obviously is shaking this off. And so they're like, well, maybe the stock market knows something that everybody else doesn't and that this thing is just going to go away because obviously these people with big money who are betting big money, the rich people and the really wired people with big money are long and are buying all this stuff. So maybe they know something that everybody else doesn't know. And so I think the market rallying, plays into this whole scenario that like, well, COVID's not that serious, and it's going to be behind us soon, and everything's going to be fine. And I'm not bearish in like a doom and gloom, like, oh, it's the end of the world coming and financial markets are collapsing. I'm not like stockpiling duct tape and and digging a bunker. I'm not digging a bunker under my house. I'm not stockpiling duct tape. I do have a stash of silver coins and stuff, but I've had those for a very long time. I don't think the end of the world is coming. I don't see the zombie apocalypse upon us. However, I just think that the market will eventually adjust somewhat lower to come into line with the realities of what's happening in our world right now. My open positions right now are I am short Lululemon and I am short Kodak. Those are my two positions right now. And then I have, I have stuff that's long the market that don't have access to. That's just always long the market, and so I have positions that are just basically long indices that are forever just long and that I never touch. But that's all. But as far as my own like gold. Thoughts on gold. I think it's amazing that it's up so high. It makes sense to me that it's up so high because the dollar has gotten whacked, and the dollar will continue to get whacked because they have to print more and more dollars to pay for all of this stimulus stuff. And there will be some kind of stimulus package, I'm convinced, at some point. And the more the bailouts and stuff they do, the more dollars it takes for an ounce of gold. I see gold as the value of gold never changes. An ounce of gold will always buy you an okay horse or a nice suit. And what changes is just how many dollars it costs to buy an okay horse or a nice suit. And so when I see gold go up, that just means to me that more dollars are being printed, dollars being devalued. Eric says, I'm listening live. I believe in the short-term trend rather than long-term pessimism. Well, there's definitely edge right now to the downside to be short these things. But it's interesting. Among viewers here, we have, a divergence of viewpoint. Spencer here is long VIX stuff, and Eric is short VIX stuff. So that's interesting. For me, I have no position right now. And we'll have to wait and see what happens, of course. I don't know if you guys got to catch me on Volatility Views program recently on Options Insider, but most people there were of the belief that these VIX products are going to make a big move lower sometime between now and December. I know that's not a very specific time. Let's see. At some point, they'll sell in fear of a Biden win. The market is an oligarch's market, including gold. It's just shiny metal. Statistically speaking, I know it's kind of like this common knowledge thing that the Republicans are pro business and the markets do better under Republicans, but I've seen some statistics, and it's actually not true that the markets do better under Republicans. It actually statistically there's not this huge edge for when there's a Republican versus a Democrat in power. I know the stereotype is that Democrats are just going to spend all money without any regard for anything, and are going to be trying to regulate financial markets and are not pro-business, et cetera, et cetera. But statistically speaking, the Republicans, I don't know why I'm talking about politics again because I try not to. Statistically speaking, it's not as soon as Obama went into office, the market just did terrible forever. Now, he did face a financial crisis. Democrats would say that was inherited from, from before, from Bush and all that. But Republicans would say, well, it's on him. But I see what you're saying with, like, people like being afraid when Biden comes in, because I've heard that from you're not the first person to say that to me, obviously. Yeah, so let's make Spencer's case for him for a second for the VIX long, because he's the only one here that actually owns a membership for this channel, so I think he deserves that we make the case for him here just for a second. So let's look at the VIX over the last little while, and let me see if I can chart this the right way, because I was watching, I think, TheoTrade, and they were making a case for the or no, it wasn't TheoTrade, it was a different site, but they were making a case for the fact that, here, this is a good shot right here. Let me get out of the way. The VIX here, this is the lowest it's been in quite some time, and you can see it kind of has a base here right around 24. And I would think that this would kind of be what Spencer would be looking at here, that, nothing's been happening in the VIX for some time, and which kind of makes sense with the markets, NASDAQ taking out the highs. Obviously, the VIX isn't based on the NASDAQ, but it is affected by the NASDAQ. Everything affects everything else. And although the SPX, which the VIX is based on, hasn't made new highs, it has rallied quite a bit, and it's kind of back to, right next to the highs. And so it makes sense that the VIX is down, down. And although we can say historically that the VIX, has an average of around 20, in the last 6 months, we are the lowest we've been in the last 6 months. Right here. Well, Ramble Ron, like I said, I don't really want to get into politics, because I don't want to piss off half the viewers. And the thing is that, I would prefer people base trading on what they see in the charts, what they see in volatility, what they see in time and sales, momentum, that sort of thing, than to, I fear people start to vote with their trading, and that's one major reason why I don't like to talk too much about politics, because you start getting into voting with your trade kind of thing, and you're going to get way off track, because eventually it's going to really burn you. That's just more noise that's on the side, and I guess, in some cases, yeah, one politician is going to be better for this or that, or, it's going to kind of work the way you thought it was, but a lot of other times it's not. Well, I mean, Philip, with Kodak, it just seems like it went from 2 to 60. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's worth a little more. They gave them some money to do some stuff, but I would suspect if I were Kodak right now, I'd be like, that's great they gave us money. We got to figure out something to do it with, to be profitable with, because they probably don't even have that much of a plan. And it just looked like it was a big squeeze. Now, I'm not going to be like patting myself on the back. It's a trade that worked out for me. I got lucky, and I basically have been short since, around 40. And that worked out. I'm grateful when trades work out for me. It could have like popped to 60 again. Who knows with the market? But my kind of prediction right now is it could fade back down to 15, something like that, 10. It could keep fading for a while. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I have talked with a lot of people in the last couple weeks, and I've been really kind of shocked, because there is a lot of optimism out there among retail to do with the market. There's a lot of people who have made boku money in the last couple of months, okay? If you bought almost anything in the last couple of months, people have made boku money, right? So thank you, Eric, for signing up. I think you are already signed up in Patreon, so that certainly wasn't necessary. But thank you anyways. There's been a lot of people that have made a lot of money in the last few weeks on the market. And, I was talking to somebody, I was at a wedding, working at a wedding this weekend. I was talking to somebody, made a bunch of money on a bunch of these stocks, very optimistic, was like, pick some stocks they liked. Everything went up, and so they made money, and it's great. And they just started kind of day trading as a retail person in the last 6 months, and it's been wonderful because the market's way up. But I can't caution those people enough that it doesn't always work that way. And I would suggest if you've made 40% in the last couple months that you take it off and you say, that's a great year, I made 40%, that's awesome. I would take off half of your risk and put it in cash and say, great job, my first year as a retail guy, I made 40%, that's awesome. But I know that to a person, no matter what I tell people, they're not going to do that. They're going to stay long all this stuff. But I still try to, again, just be a voice of reason and say, look, that's great if you've made money and been successful over the last few months. It happened to me. I've told this story on this channel before, but 2000, first 3 months of the year 2000, I made $2.5 million trading, and you couldn't tell me nothing. I thought I was like a genius, and I was like, wow, I'm going to make 10 million this year. And you can fill in the rest of the story, but it didn't work out that way. But if that's you that's been successful, I'm not talking necessarily that you made $2 million, but maybe you did. I don't know. There's bigger traders that watch this stuff too, that watch this channel too. But I am saying, if just because we've rallied the last couple of months doesn't mean we're going to continue to make more and more highs. And I am very much convinced of the fact that we are not going to continue to make new highs on the NASDAQ, short of some, this COVID thing going down and stuff getting back in track. But I think a lot of damage has been done even now. So even if right now, if we get a vaccine right now, it's not going to change everything, because a lot of people I've talked to would not try a vaccine right away because they're just not convinced that it's been tested enough. But a lot of damage has been done to this economy, and the NASDAQ just going straight up forever. I just don't see it happening. So that's just me. Like I said, take what I say with a grain of salt. Maybe watch other channels, get other people's perspectives. Just measure my perspective along with other people's, and make your own decisions. That's the way we do it as traders. You'll make your own decisions. You'll make your own way. You might look back and say, wow, Dave was an idiot. Or you might look back and say, yeah, he had a point there. But time will tell. But for me, my strategy is I come every day pretty much with no positions, but immediately if we start to sell off even a little bit, I will get short Apple. I have been getting short Tesla. I'm thinking about starting to get short this W thing because it's ridiculous, 266. But you have to be careful, because the last thing I want people to do is follow me and be like, oh, Dave's getting short, and then somebody gets short something and it runs in their face and they lose a bunch of money. It's a lot harder to time being short than it is being long. Obviously, the markets tend to trend higher. So there you have it. Thank you, Eric, for becoming a member. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I hope this, it's just one person's perspective. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt. Right now, we are very much unchanged, with E-minis down 75 cents, NASDAQ up $8.75, 8.75 points, I should say, and NASDAQ exactly at 10,900. If another thing about the VIX, if the VIX does start to tank lower, that generally would be seen as a reason for the market to continue to rally. But the fact that we're still way above average in the VIX with the NASDAQ making new highs and stuff means that there is, in the professional world at least, trading world, there is fear to the upside, which, tends to go to Spencer's position. But in the meantime, I think that this stuff is decaying at a rapid rate. So I wish everybody to make money. Hopefully there can be some scenario where Spencer and Eric both make money. All right, so that's me. I will check in soon in the week and let you know my thoughts and on what's going on. I appreciate everybody participating in the chat and watching the stream, and all of you who support me on Patreon and memberships and whatnot. Thank you very much for doing that. And that's it for me. A non-event so far as we open the thank you, Reddy. A non-event so far as we come to the futures opening. Nothing's going on. To me, that is bearish because everything is a sign of bear. Everything's a sign the market's going to go lower to me right now because I'm a perma bear. So that's just the way it is. I didn't anticipate being so bearish, but it just turned out that way. We'll see what happens tomorrow morning. Remember, what happens right now on the opening of futures on a Sunday night doesn't really mean that much. Stuff can change, certainly overnight, very quickly. Looks like gold hovering right around 2,000. There's been much made of that being a crowded trade, that meaning a lot of people are long gold here. But it makes sense to me. I mean, we've been waiting years for gold to take out the highs, and it finally has. So it's not a surprise to me at all. I've tried to trade gold before. It's a very, very difficult thing to trade. So I don't actually trade it myself. But it's not surprised at all that it's gone up. And it wouldn't be surprising to me if it went even higher. Somebody mentioned silver, the same thing. I was a silver stacker at one point. Yeah, you guys should bet $1. I was a silver stacker at some point where like I would buy silver coins and stuff. There was a period of back a few years ago where silver made a big move. I think it got up to like 40. And a bunch of people bought like physical silver and made a bunch of money on it. But then over time it started to fade lower and lower and lower. And a lot of those people gave back everything they made, and their cost basis was a lot higher than where the market was. And so the vast popularity of like silver stacker channels kind of disappeared because it was kind of a bad trade, in the end. Okay, so there you have it. Yeah, you guys, it's funny talking about making a trade with each other. We would do that on the floor. You could actually either trade with each other right in the pit, or if you want to trade stock, you could go to like a stock desk and have somebody print something on the market, and you could actually trade. If you wanted to trade 1,000 shares with each other, you could actually do that. Be like, okay, we're crossing 1,000 shares at whatever price, and you actually had the actual trade on against one another, which is kind of interesting. Anyways, best of luck to everybody, and I'll see you early in the week. Thanks for watching.
You're watching Famous Dave.